What is the biggest thing holding UI UXers going into product design?
I think the biggest thing is being passionate and curious about what the business is trying to do and what is the wider thinking about our product. Not just what we're designing and whether it's usable, but is this something people want to use? Is this something that will solve the business problem? If you're passionate about these things, you need to understand how people see this from a business perspective. And once you have that understanding, then you can definitely transition into being a product designer.
I think it'll be much easier to sort of get a sense of the business and kind of move up the ladder to like product design or go wider if you have industry experience, because you just know the set of problems that users and businesses face. So the longer you are in or working in this company, you could easily transition into that product design role. Here is another one. In the case where PMs are very much discovery focused, how can a designer's muscle in on this when they have never been design role in the company? Do you get this question?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. Before we answer the question, I think we can all agree that it's really important for a designer to be involved in discovery, right? Let's say you have a PM that is really discovery focused. That's a great thing. The first thing you can do is really figure out, do you want to own discovery along with that PM? I would approach this the same that I would approach training a new skill, which is like, I will shadow that person as much as possible. If I'm not that comfortable doing discovery, I would just shadow that person and say, I really want to be involved more in discovery. You're doing such a great job at this. How can I learn from you? Try and like learn as much as possible from them. And you're going to be in a situation after like constant friction where you suddenly own discovery along with that person. And that means that you're both thinking of, what are the best problems for us to tackle to make those decisions. The PM and PD, like synergy and relationship in a company and an org, no matter how big or small the company, is one of the most influential things from a product sense. So it's really important to figure out what are people's strengths and weaknesses. We're not trying to make both people do the same thing, but we're trying to gain leverage by empowering people to learn more from the other person. And then, of course, understanding that if there are clear strengths and weaknesses, we can definitely leverage those strengths and weaknesses. We don't have to have both people doing exactly the same thing.
That makes sense. So another question I had here, doing research as a product designer with limited funds and capacity, how does that work given your experience?
All-time favorite topic. Firstly, like doing research with limited resources, it sucks. There's no other way to put it. Research needs resources. There's no way you can do research in an extremely cheap way. There are cheaper ways, there are better value ways to do research, but there's no really cheap way to do research. Research will take either time or funds. I think the first thing that I would say is, depending on the type of business that you're working with, you need to figure out what is the best value for you and what you can do based on your resources. So understanding what resources you have and what you can leverage is really important. To give you an example, let's say you're working with an early stage B2B company. You can't easily do research on the market because that will be very expensive. Like you need to pay recruitment agencies or recruitment platforms. You need to spend a lot of money to speak to users. But what you can definitely do is, if you have 2-3 customers, that's your customer research, right? Like you can just go directly speak to your customers. And the amazing thing about early stage is that you probably have very close connections with these customers. So start there, go to them and say, hey, we can't really recruit people for research. Can I actually speak to you about what our customers are facing? Now, let's say you want to speak to non-customers, so potential candidates of businesses that could be your customers. Go on LinkedIn, like, find those people, message them saying, hey, I'm building a product in this space. Can I have a 30-minute conversation with you? Because I'm really trying to understand more. You'd be surprised at how many people are very willing to have a single chat with you, because ultimately what you're saying is, I want to build something amazing for your business. Can I have 30 minutes with you? And of course, if you're messaging the CEO of a business, it's very unlikely they're going to respond. But if you're messaging the marketing manager, they're going to be like, yeah, sure, I'll tell you what my problems are. Now, on the consumer space, similarly, you can always find some leverage in the business. With the consumer space, it's much simpler to recruit customers. It doesn't take as many funds. You can easily spend a few $100s, recruit a few people and speak to them. You can go out on the street and recruit people. You can work with friends and family. Is it perfect? No, but is it better than nothing? 100% yes. And another great tool that I've used in the past, use your customer support team. So if you have customer support in the business, use the people that are speaking to your customers. So look at what internal leverage you have in the business. Do you have any people speaking to customers already to do that research? If you need to speak to people outside the business, like leverage leverage social media. If you need to recruit people, there's tons of platforms out there to help you with, especially with consumer recruitment, that don't cost a lot of money. But of course, if you don't have that money, it's completely fine. The last thing that I would say about recruitment, the most impactful thing that I've done in consumer businesses is building a customer panel. It's very cheap to run a survey every now and then and ask customers, hey, do you want to participate in our research program? And then you just slowly build a database of people you can reach out to. So especially if you're talking consumer space, large scale business, this for me is the most impactful thing you can do because it gives you full autonomy to reach out to customers and do research with them. It's very cheap. Actually, you don't need to spend one single dollar about it. And you can always use it as a recurring mechanism to speak to users. So, of course, this will heavily depend on your situation and whether you're B2B and B2C, but there's always cheaper ways to run research. The last thing that I'll say is everyone will talk online about how doing more research is better. And it's true. Even if you can speak to one, two customers, it's much better than speaking to no customers. So find the best way that is good enough value for you to speak to a few people over time again and again. And that's good enough. And then you can start thinking about how do I scale this? How do I automate this process? How do I get more people to speak to and so on?
I really like the idea of customer panel. The way we've been doing it is through a Slack community.
Yeah.
So people are right there, ask them a bunch of questions, show them the early product. That kind of works. What are 3 things you need to nail in your first 1 or 2 years as a product designer?
Oh, yeah, great question. The way that I would start thinking about this is
Want to listen to the full conversation? Click the video on screen now. Subscribe to the channel if you want to join us live. Oh, wait. Okay, fine, you don't have to join us for the live stream, but if you like stuff like this, then click that subscribe button. I'll see you on the inside. Bye!